Welcome back, everybody, to Orange Hat and the weekly review number 2. This time we are covering a few stories that came up over the week and the weekend. And I have with me this time GFan84. Hopefully, I will be able to bring on more as they come on or as they wish if they wish. I do have a few other people that can't make it this time, but they will try next time. So, fan, how you been, man? It's been a while.
Oh, doing great. Appreciate you having me on again. It has been a while. Been busy with work, so
Yeah.
yeah, one of the real life situations.
Yeah. And we have Vanya in the chat. Hey, how to you, Vanya? He's one of the loyals for the channel. And so we're going to kick this one off right, folks. So let me get my banners. And let me try to. All right, there it is. So our first story, but before we do get into that, if you want to support the channel, keep watching my videos, getting my watch time up. That is my main priority right now. I do thank you all who have been showing support and watching my videos. I'm up to 3,300. It keeps dipping down under 3,200 or 3,300, but keep doing it. It really helps. I'm doing more live streams going on with friends and sharing the streams over to mine so I can stream there too. That's been helping. But yeah, also, folks, I mean, if you can help out in any way you can, that will be the best way to help. I'm also trying to hit 1,500 before the year is out, subscriber wise. I need 27 more to go, I think. So, I mean, last time I checked, it was 27 more. Let me just do a quick sec. Yep, need 27 more to go, and I will have hit my end of year goal. Next week or this upcoming Tuesday is going to be my Tuesday theme stream of December Christmas movie debates, where I will be debating whether or not Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie. So definitely set your reminders for that. And let's get this first story up, which is Kelsey Grammar Interview cut short over his support of President Trump. So this is from Bounding in the Comics. So yeah, the Marvels actor Kelsey Grammer interview with BBC4 reportedly shut down by Paramount Plus as he voiced support for Donald Trump. Can you believe that, man?
You know, this whole censorship thing is getting just ridiculous. Look, there are going to be times when we're not going to agree with certain people, or certain, speeches or what have you in general.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to censor and you start to encroach on people's ability to say what they want to say, then we're going down a path that it's not a good one. I mean, and it might just be something simple like this, but it's I'm seeing it more and more prevalent now.
Yeah. And it really is sad that, I mean, the British press, it's like the British Broadcasting or Company or whatever it stands for. It's like, you guys do realize that if you or just because the man says he likes Trump doesn't mean he agrees with everything he does. I support Trump. That doesn't necessarily mean I agree with everything he does.
Exactly.
I mean, he said that, or he believes that video games are the result in people shooting up, or kids shooting up schools, violent video games. And it's like, dude, you're acting like a retard saying that sort of stuff. Because if you think about it, that's not what causes. I played violent video games when I was young, when I was going to grade school and high school and stuff.
Yeah.
I never shot up a school.
Yeah. I think that was.
Or sorry. In fact, that actually prevented me from reaching that level of anger in school, because I was heavily ostracized in school. But those violent video games operated as an outlet. So yeah. But what were you going to say?
Well, I think when he made, like, especially that comment, I think he had really terrible advisors
Yeah.
that were pretty much just trying to scapegoat something. And honestly, like, the amount of times I've seen about violent video games and all that, it's to the point where people just kind of, like, blow them off in the one ear out the other, because what studies have shown time and time again, it's not true.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely nuts that these people are coming up with this stuff. But let's actually get into the meat of the article here. Let me get over here. That's not the one. Over here. Yep. Marvel's actor Kelsey Grammar interview with BBC reportedly shut down for Paramount Plus as he voiced support for Donald Trump. I mean, he's looking good, man. Frasier, you looking good still. Kelsey Grammar, best known for his role as Dr. Frasier Crane in Cheers and Frasier, has recently said that not only does he still support Donald Trump, but that he will also be supporting the Republican candidate in the 2024 presidential election. Let's see here. Come on, load up, stupid. Come on. There we go. The prolific actor's comments were made during an interview with BBC Radio 4's Today with Justin Webb, which quickly prompted a knee-jerk reaction from Paramount Plus UK's public relations team, who reportedly shut down the interview as soon as Grammar mentioned Trump. I mean, really? It's like, guys, seriously, grow a spine. I mean, it's no wonder we kicked your ass 250 years ago. So, Yahoo News reports that Webb asked Grammar whether he was still supporting Trump, to which the actor replied, "I am. And I'll let that be the end of it." So, I mean, that's not too much. That's not really that bad of a thing to say. I mean, he actually is willing to move on to a different subject for them, you know? The radio journalist would go on to recall his experience during the interview with Grammar, declaring, "I have to say, actually, Kelsey Grammar himself was perfectly happy to go on talking about it. The Paramount Plus PR people less happy when he talked about it at some length, so we decided we had plenty of time for our interview." I mean, you guys are so freaking... British people who support the BBC, grow a spine. And the BBC itself, grow a spine. I mean, like I said, it is no wonder we kicked your ass 250 years ago.
Well, okay,
but I should stress... All right, real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick. I mean, what is the big deal with this? The reason why I say is the BBC themselves, you know how much they've criticized their own monarchy all the time? So what's this?
Oh, yeah.
What does this have anything to do with? You're worried about somebody whose president wasn't even your own president. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
BBC, I've seen so many articles that they've done criticizing their own monarchs. So what's that have to do with? Why is this being, like, picked out of all the other things they've said?
Right? I mean, it's absolutely insane. So, continuing on, but I should stress that he was perfectly happy to talk about why he supports Trump and still does in the forthcoming election. Staunch Republican, Grammar is one of the few actors in Hollywood who has only made his political views public. In 2019, during an appearance on PBS's Amanpour and Company, expressed disapproval of his tenure. "I was wondering whether you thought the sort of many people believe this sort of fabric is being disrupted. I'm pouring grammar, prompting the actor to reply, "Well, I think fabric being disrupted is a good thing." Upon being pressed on whether he really believed it was a good thing, Grammar elaborated, "I don't think Washington didn't do us any favors for the last 50 to 60 years. I think they've all been sort of the same party, the same bunch of clowns, but the same bunch of really unpleasant people." In 2012, during an appearance on Popcorn and Peter Travers, the actor entertained the idea that his political affiliation may have been the reason he wasn't nominated for an Emmy for his role in the political drama series Boss. You know, it's a funny thing. You spend a lot of time racking your brain about it, and I did think, part of me thought, maybe, you know, this being an openly Republican guy is Hollywood might have something to do with it. I mean, it's absolutely, or I'm willing to bet that is exactly the reason. I mean, I haven't seen Kelsey Grammer in movies since X-Men, where he was Beast. And the Expendables 3, I think it was, where he played a recruiter friend of Stallone's. And I love that. His role in that his role, man, it was so freaking great. He's like, I believe they called him Napoleon or something like that. Or Bonaparte. Yeah, they called him Bonaparte. And he's like, I need somebody, or he's like, going after Stonebanks. Stonebanks? Good to see I'm not the only one missing his step, my friend. Stonebanks is dead. More to steal. No, he's not. Well, you need somebody like Stone, or if you're going after somebody like him, you ain't going to need just one guy. You're going to need a whole fucking army. And he's like, are these guys any good? Oh, these guys are pussies. They're watching a fight ring. They're watching these two guys beating the shit out of each other. It's like, what are these guys any good? These guys are pussies. I love that part, man. And so going over the whole thing, and then we see Antonio Banderas coming. Holy shit, dude. He's like, Gaga, you sent me another fake resume. Oh my god, he played it so freaking well, and he was actually pretty good as Beast too. I haven't seen the Marvels. I don't plan on ever watching the Marvels. I mean, maybe if I have a day where I'm feeling completely mentally retarded, will I ever watch the Marvels? But I don't see that ever happening for another good 20 to 30 years. So, yeah. So continuing on, you know, already said that. He elaborated, I do know that there's a hallmark of tolerance in my community out there, but it may or may not be true. I don't know. To which the host added, it's so strong or strange because the idea that being a Republican is a dirty secret when half of the country is. Well, except that less than half of Hollywood is. I mean, they literally had an underground movement of Hollywood conservatives because conservatives are being ostracized. You don't see Gary Sinise much anymore. I don't think that he's Republican, but I do know that he's voted conservative. You've had, James Woods, obviously, Kevin Sorbo, all of that, John Voight, they've all been kicked out of Hollywood, essentially, because they're all very much Republican and voiced their support for Donald Trump. And Dean Cain, he no longer acts because he supported Republican nominees.
I mean,
go ahead.
I like one of the only few real conservative ones I still hear about, though he's retired, was Clint Eastwood.
Yep.
And that's only because he has so much clout there.
Oh yeah, they won't dare try to cancel him. They're just waiting for him to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
might be in the next few years, because I do believe he's actually starting to lose his battle with time.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a shame, though. At the same time,
Yep. So getting back into it, it is, the actor agreed, jokingly adding, it is the worst thing you could be, but you know what? It's also my nature. The thing is, I have always been a rebel. If you've ever tell me the way you think or the way to think, I'm bound to think the other way. So I live in Hollywood. So what else would I be? Grammar's most recent works include Last Minute Cameo in Marvel Studios' Disney's box office flop, The Marvels, which will actually be a segue into our next topic, wherein the actor reprised his role from Beast, The Last Stand, and Frasier's revival for Paramount Plus, which will actually bring us to our next topic of The Marvels. And close these stupid ass ads. There we go. So before we do get into this this one here, folks, speaking politically for a moment, hey, Zathra, thank you for showing up, or thank you for tuning in and supporting the stream. When it comes to, and I'm only going to give my political opinion very lightly here, folks. If you really think about it, as a student of our country's history, after the Constitutional Convention, in which the Constitution as well, or in other documents and whatnot were done, well, or I believe it was actually the Constitutional Convention of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Somebody asked Ben Franklin, "What did you give us? A republic, ma'am, or a republic, if you can keep it?" And there's a word, if you pay attention to our founding documents, including our Constitution, the 50 state constitutions, as well as the Declaration of Independence, the word democracy does not exist in any of them. And it's because of a very simple reason. Our founding fathers knew history very well. They knew that democracies are self-destructing forms of government. So when people say, "Oh, there's two parties, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party," I'm not Republicans, because honestly, Democrats have already shown to be a very destructive party towards our country, and they keep on saying our democracy is at stake, our democracy is threatened. Well, you're living in a delusional dream world, because we don't have democracy. We have a constitutional republic. We don't have a republic, we have a constitutional republic, because republics also would fail if they didn't have tabulated laws that are unbreakable, no matter how much the government wants to try to break them. But moving on, now that that history lesson is over, the Marvels, let me change my banner, is now officially the MCU's worst film. The MCU ends proper theatrical run as lowest performing entry of the entire MCU. Disney to stop reporting weekend grosses. That's because it's so abysmal, folks. That's because this movie had the worst preview day, the worst opening weekend, the largest box office or second week drop off, and now officially it dropped lower than the Hulk, or the Incredible Hulk from 2008. So now it is absolutely considered the worst MCU film financially. All four of those things are basically the last nails in the coffin. So let's get into this from Bounding into Comics again. All of the stories are from Bounding into Comics, folks, because I was gonna do the original topic of this, but it was on a different site. But I decided to use Bounding because Bounding, I do believe, needs or should have support. So it's the end result that nearly everyone saw coming, in adding one last negative franchise record to its running list of accolades. With its theatrical run coming to a close, The Marvels will officially go down in the history books as the at current lowest grossing entry in MCU or in the entire MCU. So, yeah. Having hit theaters on November 10th, the Marvel's industry standard 4-week theatrical run came to a close on the weekend of December 3rd, at which time the MCU's latest entry total per box office tracking outlet, The Numbers, sat at a measly $80,752,350 domestically. Internationally, that same time saw the triple team up adventure pull in just slightly more than $116,300,000, bringing the film's worldwide total to just $197,052,350. Ouch. Ouch.
Ugh.
Big ouch.
Oh boy.
I mean, folks, that's not adjusting for deflation. Yeah, everybody likes to talk about inflation. Back in 2008, what was it? Or I do believe the Incredible Hulk did what, like 280 million?
Yeah, something like
in
that.
light, or no, it actually says it right here. For comparison,
says
this
right
worldwide total comes to roughly 70K behind the previous holder of the title. The MCU's lowest grossing film, The Incredible Hulk, whose 2008 gamma irradiated outing ended its theatrical run with an international unadjusted for inflation, $265,859. That's unadjusted for inflation. Holy crap, dude. So, in light of this calculation, The Incredible Hulk's theatrical box office gross now can be equated to $379,508,761. A full 124K over the Marvels. Except let's adjust for deflation with the Marvels. Let's adjust for the Marvels. I'm going to do a calculator here. What did they get? 197. All right. 197. All right. $sign 197. Crap. 052. 052. What's that last bit? 350. Or, no, wait. Yep, 350. 350 amount in 2000 or adjust for deflation. $2,008. All right. It's not really telling me, so or I gotta look at an inflation deflation calendar or calculator or whatever. Federal Reserve, scratch that. All right. Let's see here. I know how to ask this. How much was this in 2000? How much is back in 2008. Alrighty. So 2.41 inflation rate means 180. Well, 180 million in 2008 is equivalent to 257. Yeah, but that's not what I want to know.
Yeah, I think most of those things like don't account for deflation, just inflation.
Yeah. So, all right, let's do, because I want this to be recorded on this stream here, folks. So please bear with me. $2023 deflation to 2008. All right, now they have a inflation calculator. So is there a deflation that we can do? All right, is worth. Alrighty, so what's the number again? Can you read it?
Yeah, it's
Or can you see it clearly?
yeah, I can see it. Okay,
197.
Yeah, 197 052 350.
0523. All right, is worth. Okay, here we go. $84,611 and or $611,897.12. So oh wait, that's hold on. That's not right. 97, not 119. Let's try that again. Okay, so adjusted for deflation, folks, 140,047,409.12 is what the Marbles would have made in 2008. So adjusted for inflation, let's go over to this tab. I'll show it right here for you all to see. 197 million, what the Marvels made in their total report in the box office is 140,047,409 compared to what is it that the Hulk made?
It was like what, one global, was it globally? Yeah.
All right. Globally, the Hulk made at the time 265,573. So yeah, now let's use a calculator because I like doing all this stuff for you all, folks, because I do believe that this stuff is important. So the new number is 140,047,09. And just take away the 10 cents. Oh, wait. 140,047. 7. Oh, yep. The first one. What's the Hulk's earnings? All right. 265. 573. 859. Minus the 1,400,47409 equals. Yeah, so when you adjust for deflation, folks, the Marvels made $125,526,450 less than the Incredible Hulk if this was in 2008. So let's go to inflation, or let's adjust for inflation using the calculator, the 265 573. So let's go to 2008 on the calendar. 265 573 859 573 859 and 2023. Calculate. So yeah, let's look at the new number for the Hulk. Let's see if that's accurate on bounding. 379. That's not exactly accurate. 373,673,125.06. So now let's do the 197 052 350. All right, so alrighty, we had 100. Or so let's see here. Hey, turn back on, you stupid calculator or phone. Alrighty, so 373 673 125 minus 197 052 350. And if you adjust to inflation today, the Marvels now makes 100, or the Marvel trails the Hulk by $176,620,775.
Yeah.
So yeah, folks. Right there is your new number there. It seems that the Marvels really did a bad job.
You know, just pointing out too, for if I remember right, with the Incredible Hulk, wasn't there also like a big like public battle between like Edward Norton and
Yes,
Marvel, because he wanted
Yeah.
writing credit and they didn't give it to him?
he wanted, all I remember is that he wanted more than what he got,
Yeah, and that's why
or he wanted
was-
more or something, and he was an asshole to work with.
Well, yeah, I think everyone has said that. It's worked with him.
Yeah. So, thanks to this now abysmal performance, Disney has announced on Monday that the Marvel's box office now winding down. We will stop weekend reporting international global grosses on this title. Yeah, no shit, because you guys, this movie sucks so bad. Notably, with the film still set to play in theaters until at least New Year, Disney's abandonment of the Marvel appears less fall victim to scheduling conflicts and more company throwing in the towel of their greatest disappointment. As noted above, the bottom of the barrel accolade is but the latest to be taken home by the glorified Disney Plus. special. Previously, the Marvels set such new and historical MCU lows as worst opening weekend box office, worst first Monday box office, worst second week drop off, a record it also holds for comic book films in general. Oh my God. Beating out the previous winner of Morbius, with all of which, like the above record, were previously held within the franchise by The Incredible Hulk. Yet, while there are numerous and apparent factors that led to audiences' general disinterest in the sci-fi caper, including but not limited to its poor script, less than popular lead actress, and a heavy marketing focus on its poor credit scene or post-credit scene over anything else, Disney CEO Bob Iger believes that the Marvel's woes stem from two specific issues. Oh, right. Executives not being on set and COVID. Hey, right, Kitty. Thank you for stopping in. So yeah, it's not any of that, folks. It's literally Brie Larson made herself so hateful that that she she just wasn't that good of an actress. I mean, yeah, she's got that award for the movie The Room or whatever it was. And so she's a good actress if she has the right director. But Nia DaCosta isn't the right director. And everybody's like, oh, she's going to pull the victim card. Yeah, she pulled the victim card. She pulled the race card. She pulled all of that when the movie was projected to be a huge flop. And that's why she also jumped ship from Marvel and Disney.
Right.
So there's that. But when you are somebody like Brie Larson and you just can't stop being a bitch. You just can't stop being sexist. People remember this stuff. Their memories are quite extensive. I remember when Brie Larson's like, I learned all these martial arts, and the first thing I wanted to do was go out and just grab somebody by the coat and whip them over my shoulder. That's not what martial arts artists do, folks. So, yeah.
Also, to me, it seems like the general public, not just, people that are on, the conservative side or whatever, but in general, it seems like audiences are tired of all spectacle, but no real substance behind it, like no real story behind it.
Yep.
At least that's what I'm getting.
Well, yeah, because everybody's like, well, the Marvel or Captain Marvel 1 did so good in the box office. And this movie proved why it did so good. It's because Captain Marvel was sandwiched in between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So, yeah, not to mention Disney lied to the audiences and said it's required viewing. And the only thing that made it required viewing was the fact that it was a character that was going to show up in Avengers Endgame for no apparent reason. And then that she would get her ass knocked out by Thanos because, she thinks she's all big and bad. Yet, here's the thing, folks. It's actually a good thing that Thanos, or that she failed in her attempt to get the gauntlet through the van quantum tunnel, the one from the van, because she has no idea where to go to return those stones. She has no idea what to do with them. All she knows is to get them in the vehicle or to go through the tunnel. And so, yeah, she would have doomed the universe if she had succeeded and Thanos had missed his shot with his sword. So, yeah, Captain Marvel would have doomed the universe if she had succeeded trying to make it to the tunnel on time. Just saying. Everybody's like, oh, she's the best. Slay, Queen, slay. You guys do know that she almost destroyed the universe, right? Yeah, just gonna leave that there. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh yeah, real quick, just for some context here, which agrees with you. So, have you ever watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
No.
Oh, well, anyway, long story short, it stars pretty much like everyone, kind of before they were big, as Chris Evans, Brie Larson, Aubrey Plaza. It's got a ton of people. Well, anyway, so I was watching the person's reaction to this movie, and immediately they recognized Chris Evans as Captain America. They had a couple other actors that they instantly recognized, but they know she's the person who reacting had no idea who Brie Larson was, even though that person already saw Captain Marvel.
Oh my God! Wow.
I mean, it's kind of like one of those.
So, yeah, the Marvel. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it's almost like because of how forgettable that Captain Marvel was. It's like they actually forgot who the actress was.
Yeah. Here's the thing, folks. This just shows that that was the only reason for $1 billion success for the Marvels was because it was sandwiched in between two Avengers films. It shows that Brie Larson was not enough to carry that movie. It was our narrative was not enough to make that movie a success. She owes 10 times the she basically owes 10 times the amount of success of Marvel to the fact of it being sandwiched into two Avengers movies. Because that movie made $1 billion. This movie didn't even make 200 million. So, yeah. I mean, what else is there to be said? Any final thoughts on this one?
Well, the numbers speak for themselves, for one thing. But like I said, I mean, there's no real good substitute for a good story, and the sooner Marvel, Disney, and I'm not just saying Marvel and Disney. Other Hollywood studios are doing the same thing. I mean, look what happened with the Jurassic World franchise in the last movie. I mean, they need to get better writing in general.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I mean, now, or did you hear, or I covered this last week, but apparently the director of that Saltburn movie that came out, Emerald Fennell, or whatever, she wants to make an erotic movie.
Yes, I remember that.
And I'm thinking to myself, no, you don't, because nobody wants to see people having sex with dinosaurs. I had a very interesting discussion, highlight already, with someone who did not believe the movies needing double their budget to break even. Yeah, the reason why budgets are so inflated, and I'll get to this after we discuss other movies, right? Or the other topics, but our final topic is going to be Godzilla -1, and it's more modest budget than the 15 million projected budget. But yeah, apparently it wasn't $15 million. But moving on to the next topic, comic book shop owners are being mocked and attacked by comic pros. So let's get into this one. And I got to go over to Bounding for it. Comic Book Pros mocks and denies complaints of veteran shop owners regarding abysmal state of the market. His business is dying because he refuses to change with the times.
Oh, give me a break.
Right. And you think that people stopped buying Marvel comics because of comic book shops? No, it's actually because the content sucks. People are going to independent creators like Eric July and Mandy Summers for when she gets her stuff released. Also, C.S. Johnson is doing her Discord comic, which is I hope starts to come out soon. Plus, I believe Riot Kitty has a comic that she's working on getting released too. So shout out to Riot Kitty as well. People are now getting alternative media to DC and Marvel because, well, you guys are just pandering to the lowest denominator. So, yeah, we don't want that. But anyway, in the latest instance of fan and retailer complaints concerning the state of the industry falling on deaf, if not unnecessarily combative ears, a number of comic book professionals have responded to a public plea from a veteran shop owner over the quality of Western current output with not consideration, but rather outright derision and mockery. Star-Lord, Rider Nova, the real Nova. All right, there we go. This latest round of discourse was first kicked off on December 1st, courtesy of the 42nd and latest episode of The Comic Palace Reborn, a slice of life YouTube series run by the owner of an eponymous Haverhill MA retail store, Glenn O'Leary, which documents the day-to-day interactions he experiences with customers in the shop. So, in this episode, among the many individuals who speak to O'Leary is a customer referred to only as Mike, who during his time in the shop with the shop owner took the opportunity to lament the fact that Western comic book publishers, particularly Marvel Comics and DC, keep watering their books down. I don't know if it's watered down or if it's just kind of repeating the same stories in different shows or in a different show in a different way, said Mike. I get a lot of surprises from the indies. I mean, yeah, there's only chasm. What is this thing? Looks like a Richard Rider or Ben Riley character is nothing more than a shock value. American Spock. Yeah. Whatever. In turn, the show then cuts to find O'Leary offering Mike even further example of the industry's wanton mistreatment of the very properties they've been tasked with shepherding, beginning with his declaration that Marvel villain the Hood was a fantastic character, and then they just made it idiotic, and they ruined a great character. You know, the shop owner continued, the Hood came out of nowhere, believe it or not. That idiot Brian K. Vaughan, I believe, came up with him. The guy from Saga, the guy that can't get a book out on time, right? He used to be a brilliant writer and a worker, but now he's just a lazy chump. Damn. And yes, this the Hood was actually an interesting character. He really was. There was a game, Marvel Avengers Alliance, where his character was actually a pretty good villain. And so they get the Hood going. He's a main part of the Marvel Universe, main part of the villains. O'Leary further detailed, ostensibly referencing Brian Michael Bendis's subsequent use of the villain as a major antagonist for his new Avengers team. That storyline ends. He just kind of disappears, and then he goes after the Infinity Gauntlet gems, gets a couple of them, but he's just an idiotic clown, and then he disappears, and now he shows up once in a while. So, yeah, this guy was becoming a bigger threat. I mean, if he's going after Stones, proceeding to pick up a copy of the villain's then recently published appearance as an opponent to the eponymous Spirit of Vengeance Ghost Rider, O'Leary then closed out his specific thoughts on the Hood, declaring, "So I'm hoping they do him well in this book." I mean, well, yeah, especially if he's smashing an old man's head into the wall. Turns out that old man is a little bit, well, definitely, or has a head full of eyes. Okay. However, this brief moment of optimism was all topic. Corrupted by his recollection of the Hood's less than respectable publication hit, just make idiotic characters most of the time. They got somebody, or they finally got somebody good, and then they stopped using them. I don't know why. Change the guard, maybe. Then again, maybe a different change of writers. His attention now fully focused on the industry at large. O'Leary then speculated that this overall decline of the industry's quality was due to the fact that writers nowadays, they don't care about who or what the character is anymore. Most of it are had. All they care about is, how do I put myself in the book? Isn't that fucking the truth? Isn't that the freaking truth, man?
Uh-huh.
I mean, look at this. This was that freaking crazy, weird, fat chick wanting to make herself the daughter of Starfire here. And nobody freaking wanted that shit. They're like, what the hell is this stupid shit, you know? To this end, shop owner declared, "No, we don't care about what you would do if you were Iron Man. We don't care about we don't care who you are. You're writing Tony Stark. You're not writing yourself in a book. If that's the case, write your own comic book with you in it. No one will read it because nobody cares. People are growing up loving Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Captain America. We don't need you to put your input in it. Just write Steve Rogers. Don't write, what would Steve Rogers be if I was Steve Rogers? That's not how it works." But that's, again, how most of these new people write nowadays. And that's why most of the stuff is shit, because readers don't care about what a given writer would do because we don't care about your life whatsoever. And that is the blunt truth, folks. We don't care about who the writer is. We care about a good story. Make a good story. Stop putting yourself in it. We don't care about your freaking cholesterol problems and your freaking herpes or any shit like that. We care about a good heroic story. The bad guy getting his ass kicked by the good guy. Epic artwork and epic design, writing, story, and whatnot. That's what we care about. We don't care about gays against group or gays against this and star power that and whatnot. No, we don't care about that. Go ahead.
Okay, really quick. That what was just said here was actually brought up by Mr. H Reviews. He was talking about the Monarch series for on Apple TV. And he brought up the same thing. He said a lot of these characters in that show are extremely unlikable. And it's as if the writers took their own anguish and anger and made themselves the characters in this show. And he said it's actually ruining it. He goes, the first couple episodes were pretty good, but now if it's going to go continue with this, it's not worth it.
I know, and that's something I noticed with the last episode. I mean, they did a teaser before the last episode came out last Friday, and that showed Godzilla fighting that Bat Titan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're going to see some Godzilla action. And then we see nothing but the two women bitching and yelling at the brother and treating him like shit and bringing down the dad. And, now we learned that the main female lead is a lesbian. Nobody cares about that.
And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I was afraid that was going to happen.
Okay, so she's a lesbian. So what?
Yeah, but I was more afraid
about
eventually.
I
understand.
the
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, like
No, you go
again.
ahead. You were finish what you were saying.
Oh yeah, sorry. But like I was saying, it's like I was kind of worried about how the writing was going to go for this show for Monarch, and it's just unfortunate. But we kind of saw this coming, and you know when the episode is now just focused just on these really horrible characters and their problems, quote unquote, it really detracts from the overall, story you want to get to. You want to get to the actual story about the actual monsters, and it kind of shows the, how things are going to turn out. But like I said, I mean, we'll see what happens. But if it's going to continue like this, it's pretty much, whatever.
I mean, they hinted at why Kurt Russell is he's supposed to be like in his 90s or something, and they're like, well, we heard rumors and this and that, and it's like, well, okay, explore that. We don't care about the stupid drama and them ragging on the male character, because that's all they did. It was just a bunch of freaking man hate this last episode. It's like, what the fuck is this shit, man? Nobody cares about that. Stop. Why do you guys always have to fucking beat down the male characters to somehow elevate the female characters? That makes the female characters unlikable because they're constantly beating down the male character. All he wants to do is help. And you guys are all like, oh, shut up, man. Or what are you trying to kill us? This is your fault and all this shit. No, it's his father's fucking fault because his father fucked around and had 2 families. But now, so that makes him an asshole. And it's just like, oh my God. I mean, seriously, why are there is such balance in Hollywood? But getting back to this, just write a book, get paid for what you do, get paid for what you're supposed to be doing, and make it a good story, he finally concluded. We don't need your opinions. That is very, very true. Where's the rest of this article?
It's blank.
Yeah, kind of is. And let's get rid of that stuff. I mean, yeah, it's like, where's the rest of this? Initially, O'Leary's take did not garner any widespread attention as of writing. The relevant episode of the comic Palace Reborn sits at only 5,500 views. However, all this change shared to Twitter by user Defnati.
Yeah, I think so.
But when O'Leary's opinion finally caught the attention of the very industry he was criticizing, members chose to issue showing any semblance of humility or self-reflection in favor of not just insulting the frustrated shop owner, but blaming him for the problems that they themselves have created or wrought. In a now deleted tweet, former Venom Volume 4 and Thor Volume 6 dismissed O'Leary, sarcastically writing, "Don't you guys hate how much you go into the hardware store? How the guy behind the counter always tells you how much hammers suck?" Not really, no. The creator of Ahoy Comics, The Wrong Earth, Jamal Eichel, likewise claimed he's going to be real shocked on how all the comics have been written and how writing in general works. His business is dying because he refuses to change with the times. Actually, no, dude. People are telling you right now that we don't want these things changed. We like what came before. We are actively seeking what came before. Your new shit sucks because you're putting yourselves in it and nobody cares about that. We want to go back to the heroic stuff like Avengers Alliance game. That actually had some good stuff. Yes, they started introducing characters who were gay or lesbian and stuff, but they didn't really make that such a huge issue of the whole thing. when they introduced Carolina Dean into that game, everybody's like, oh, cool, she's got a good power set. I mean, that's pretty cool. And other people were like, yeah, or Marvel, this was when they were actually starting to do this. Marvel's like, oh, yeah, it's the first lesbian character that we are putting in the game. And it's like, so, okay, so she's a lesbian. Who cares? What's her power level like? What's her class going to be? What's her skills going to be in the game? I care about that playing the game, you know? And, but yeah, moving on, there's a simple rule in sales. Continued the former Marvel Comics DC artist in response to a user questioning O'Leary's decision to publicly attempt for the consumer. Don't do it. Sell everything like you love it. No, dude, because that's when people stop coming in. They see this new shit that's not interesting, and they're like, nah, we don't need to buy that. It's like, well, it's you guys' fault. It's not the shop owner. He's just buying or he's just selling your stuff, except that your stuff isn't interesting no matter how much he would try to sell it like he loves it. It's like, oh, yeah, this stuff is very good. I highly recommend it. And then I take a look at it and it'd be like, this doesn't look very interesting to me. No, man, I ain't gonna touch it. So, yeah, it's actually the comic book industry's fault. And performing his own write-off of O'Leary's concerns, former Spider-Man franchise editor Tom Brennan asserted 30-year comic shop owner knows nothing about how comics have always been made. If that's the case, if you guys are putting yourselves into comics back then, guess what? You did it in such a subtle way that it really wasn't that big of a deal. But now it's just so overt, and you're making people, or you're actually putting what you physically look like in the comics, where you are this chubby little fat bitch with hairy legs and hairy arms that nobody wants to look at. I mean, who the hell did Starfire breed with to have such an ugly person? I'm sorry. That's just that's just telling the physical truth. So, adding his own thoughts, Current Carnage Volume 3, yada, yada. Writer Ram V pushed back. Anyone who describes writing what writing is about, I don't know how many times people need to hear it. That is simply not how art or creative works. Or creative works. Well, then why don't you actually elaborate how it works, Mr. Ram V? Instead of saying, well, that's not how it works, then tell us how it works. Show us how it works. Give us a successful running comic now, because I have retweeting these posts, Silver Surfer, yada yada. Arthur Mars affirmed this. Or this. It's not a restaurant. You don't, therefore, that's why his business is all right, then fine. Have him, or honestly, this O'Leary guy, partner up with Eric July. I mean, I may not agree with a lot of Eric July's opinions on certain stuff, certain opinions. But so if you can, partner up with him, sell his stuff instead of selling with Marvel people coming into the shop. 33, or do you though? And no, a steak, medium rare with mashed potatoes, and it's made to order just for you. You buy or you don't buy just something that's already made, or buy something that's already actually had something that was worth investing and looking into and thinking about. I mean, did you see the death of Superman hype back in the late 90s? holy crap, they were flying
Yeah.
off the shelves before before the shops even opened.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a
Go ahead.
huge deal. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that. That was
exactly.
a really huge deal.
I mean, they even had the gray gravestone cover for it too. I have the Death and Life of Superman book up in my room. It's a great book. Yet, I disagree with some of the stuff, specifically Supergirl being the, like, metamorphic character, but that's about it. Yet, despite his widespread denigration from the industry of which he relies on to make a living, O'Leary did not walk away from the discourse without his supporters. Not only did he receive writing from support from fan favorite Power Girl Volume 2 writer Jimmy Palmiotti, who in a now deleted tweet revealed, "It is something I tell newer writers all the time. Read all the history of the character and understand their motivations and why the audience fell in love with them. It will help you to understand who they are, so if you change anything about them, it's in line with who they are." But he was also invited to appear on the Ultimates Volume 1, writer Mark Miller's Time live show to discuss the entire debacle. So, yeah, I stand with the comic owner, folks. I'm sorry, but I do. And I think that he is absolutely right. Comic books are no longer becoming you should be selling anymore, because these people show that they just hate the uh, comic book industry so much that they just want to uh, uh, make what they are, put it in a comic book and say, read about my life instead about the Flashes. Read about my life instead of Superman's. And it's like, no, read about Superman. We want to read about the Flash. We want to read about good stories and whatnot. I mean, I haven't picked up a comic book, but and I also lost interest in them. But if you go to writing and stop putting yourself into it and inserting yourself there on Galactus, instead you put yourself as Ghost Rider with purple fucking ribbons in your skull and whip instead of his chain, him freaking going up, riding up to him and say, dude, your sins are incalculable. This is going to hurt. Boom. Hit you with the penance there. I know that happens when ridiculous. What are your final thoughts on that?
Well, honestly, one, I agree with the comic book owner, but why do I? You're messing with his business. He can't make a living if he can't sell any comics. But why do I feel like the way they are, it's almost like they don't want independent comic book, like, stores anymore. I mean, I hardly see them anymore, and they used to be all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, there's that. So, yeah, that is going to finish out that topic. Our next one is Rachel Zegler and Halle Bailey go full freaking ego, folks. So Halle Bailey and Rachel Zegler did a actor on actor thing for Variety, I think it was, and they decided to respond about how they respond to the online criticism against them. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys are absolutely nuts, because Rachel Zegler says she's thankful for the backlash against her online and her Snow White casting. Nothing can hurt anymore because they've said the worst that they've said. Oh, no, we haven't. So let's get into this. According to Snow White star Rachel Zegler, rather than despair at the widespread backlash to her casting as a race-swapped version of Snow White in the first canonical animated series, the actress has learned to be thankful for the decision, as it is allowed her to supposedly grow a thicker skin. The controversy surrounding her upcoming role, while speaking with Halle Bailey, another race-swapped who earlier portrayed Ariel in the live-action Little Mermaid, which was also a total flop. First, broaching the topic of how the discussion's performance in the aforementioned remake, Zegler began the conversation by giving praise to her colleague. There are always people who have been or who have something to say about her casting, but you proved them wrong with grace. No, she didn't. I was so inspired by the way that you handled anybody who had anything bad to say about it, and I give you really so much credit. I'm sorry. Didn't Halle Bailey basically say, if you don't... I mean, I could have sworn that was what she...
Hey, sorry, Orange. You're
have a
cutting
serious
out really bad.
delay. All right. Well, then, okay, hold on. Going to close the article. Yeah, okay. Is that better?
Oh, yeah, much.
Yeah, unfortunately, the articles... all right, sharing multiple articles, folks, unfortunately, cuts the quality of the stream. So I'm sorry about that. But essentially what she says is that, or her and Halle Bailey basically stroked each other's egos so much because of the or how they handled backlash and this and that. And they say that they're thankful for it, and yet they're behind a video screen or a computer screen, so there's not they wouldn't dare say that stuff to us face to face. And as I said on my video covering this, which is actually doing a lot better now than it was before when it first came out, because it was a very slow going. I'm sorry to say, Rachel and Halle, I would say that to your face. I would say that, don't you feel it is kind of insulting to be given sloppy seconds of a character who was originally white, and the fact that you are saying that you can't identify with them because they're white? Don't you feel that that is a problem that you personally have, instead of something that needs to change simply because you don't like the fact that they are white? Doesn't that make you a racist, and not the people who are criticizing it and saying maybe you need to identify less with what the person looks like and more with the moral values that they have, which everyone can agree is a good moral value? What is wrong with a traditional love story? Why is that such a problem nowadays? What? Why can't people just agree that true love is a good thing to have. Whether you are a woman who is in love with a woman, a man who is in love with a man, it is the value of true love in these stories that is something you can connect to, something that you can relate to. And it's not so much the person's skin color, but rather their morals and their convictions and their general virtues that are the thing to connect to. You don't have to, or if you're having a problem with that simply because they're not the same skin color as you, that's a you problem. That just means that you have a problem with white people having these values, because that's all you can identify with. The article is there on Bounding into Comics for everybody to see, but seriously, folks, it is a really bad thing that parents or black parents whose kids were all saying during the promotion of The Little Mermaid, "Oh, I can finally identify with her because she's my color now." You know how heartbreaking it is to hear a kid say that because they were taught racism to be racist and shallow by their parents? And yes, I am saying that about these black parents that did this to their kids. They basically taught them that your skin color is your most important thing about you. When Martin Luther King, a person who championed rights for black people more than anybody else in the last 80 years, who fought against the Jim Crow legislation, who actually, his death galvanized the world into action of total freedom and total equal rights for people who were black, who also believed that you should not judge a person by the content or the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And simply put, if he heard a lot of these people nowadays, he would be ashamed of them. Alveda King, his niece or I think it's his niece, she is totally against what the race baiting crap in politics has been all about. And she's called it out too on the news. She's like, "I actually stand with Trump. He's not a racist." Getting over into that, just to give you an idea of what some of the stuff she said. She's like, "He's not a racist. He's actually done more for black people than black people have done for black people in a long time." She actually said something akin to that on the news. And yet nowadays, people are saying, "Well, you have no idea what it's like for us because you were never oppressed due to the color of your skin." Well, I think it should be measured on an individual basis instead of a group basis, because if you look at our people individually, they're not all the same. Me, I got assaulted in jail simply for being white. I got threatened with death threats because I was white. I got physically assaulted out in the real world because I was white. Yeah, I don't hate all black people. I don't think all black people are scum or evil or whatever. I simply say those people who wronged me, I will pray for them, but I also think that they do need to be held accountable for what they have done. I was at a Walmart and I had my Bo Jackson jersey on. And this woman who was black came up to me and said, "How dare you wear that?" And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? Bo Jackson is a black football player. How dare you wear his jersey?" I like Bo Jackson. He's my favorite football player. He won the Heisman Trophy on the year I was born. I loved him growing up when I was a kid. He was my favorite Raiders player. And, well, she went after my my jersey. And I grabbed her wrists and I'm like, "Ma'am, you're not going to touch my jersey." And so she started saying I was harassing her and I assaulted her. Yet the security people saw all this on tape. They came out and had her detained. And she ended up getting arrested because she was going to, or she threatened that she was going to kill me when I stepped outside. Well, the police were then called because she was threatening to kill me. I decided not to press charges because it wasn't really worth it. But I did. The police were like, "Do you ride home?" It's like, "No, I walk. I'm just a couple of miles up the road." And so I walked home, and I took my Bo Jackson jersey off, not because I was ashamed, but because it's more of a collectible now. It's something that's up in my closet right now, and I just feel that there's no real need to watch it because I don't watch football anymore. The days that I liked about football, when football was a sport that was respectable, are long gone. But nowadays, it's just nothing but stupidity on the field. People only care about the paycheck instead of the love of the game. But getting back to Rachel Zegler and Halle Bailey, when they say that, they've said all the worst they can say, and it's like, you guys don't even have the guts to meet us in the same arena. I mean, yes, you are humans. Yes, you are, or you have feelings too. But you also got to understand that your corporate overlords are showing you the worst of the worst that people are saying. They're not showing you the legitimate criticisms that we have. You know? What are your thoughts on this?
If you look, Ryan K was saying a couple things here.
Yeah, I found a curious study. The whites have the highest out group preference, but black people have the lowest out group preference. It's not a race thing though; it's a culture thing. Yeah. And what was this one? Yeah, I never thought about people looking like me to relate to them ever. Like the two characters I relate to the most as a kid didn't look like me at all. I was not bothered by that.
Yeah,
And geez,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Right there, that first one.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally how I felt growing up too. I was adopted, and I'm actually from South Korea. So,
Nice.
almost all the TV stars and the movie stars that I always watched, they didn't look like me, but I didn't care about that because it was the morals of the character. It was the you know what they stood for and that type of thing. That's what drew me to them, and they never even made mention of whether or not they're male or female or all that. One of my favorite characters of all time is Ellen Ripley from the Alien franchise, and it's like they never pounded on the head about her being a woman. She did what she had to do. That's it. That was the moral of her character was she did what she had to do, and then in Aliens, when it came to Newt and protecting her, it's like it didn't matter. It didn't matter, and even in all the movies, they never really made mention that she's a woman. Really,
I mean,
other than the third one. Yeah, third one. Yeah, it really comes to light, but at the same time, you're full of prisoners too. It becomes like an interesting juxtaposition, though.
Yeah. And that's only because it's a male, or it's a planet, or it's a prison planet full of a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And lice and whatnot.
Yes.
But, I mean, this whole polarizing community, or this polarizing culture war that we are in, where people who are woke, I mean, I am starting to get sick and tired of that term myself, but it's the only term that we got so far, or politically correct, which is actually politically retarded, if you ask me, where they say you have to treat us like we are better than what you have been treating you. No, I don't. I will treat you how you treat me. If you respect me, I will respect you. And the thing is, folks, I actually welcome Rachel Zegler or Halle Bailey to come onto my channel. If they ever see this, I doubt they will. But I would love to have a talk with them. I would actually love to have a civil discourse where instead of preconceived notions that we could actually talk face to face about the controversies, the backlash, and whatnot. And if we have a difference of opinion, different opinions are welcome on my channel. But I would not want anybody in the chat to yell, scream, or harass them. I don't ever want people to do that. Your opinions are welcome if they're respectable on my channel. However, I'm not going to allow a person to take one look at a dissenting voice in my panel and say, well, you're just an idiot, or you're just a retard, or this or that. I mean, I was on a stream the other day where I was actually being called a coward and other shit. And it's like, that is far from what I am in real life. You honestly have no idea who I am, what I am about. And I guarantee you, if you actually took the time to listen to what I was saying, you'd actually realize I make a good point, because it was talking about a whole secession thing going on. Because people are talking about secession in the United States, and it's like, that ain't a viable thing anymore. Because MAD would be completely destroyed, and that would actually lead to the end of humanity, as it is. But getting back to it, they constantly were stroking each other's egos. And I'm sorry, if you honestly think that the backlash was simply because you were black or that you were a different skin color, that's not really, I mean, when people, or when Halle Bailey's character, Little Mermaid, came out, and the reviews that were negative reviews for it came out, no mention of her skin color. Not once did it make a mention of her skin color. It was poorly written, not that well acted. The story was abysmally droll. The romance of the story that everybody knew and loved was not there. That's all that was there. Those were the main criticisms. It wasn't that, she's black and it sucks because she's black. No. That wasn't the issue that we had. We don't have an issue with people who are black. We have an issue with Hollywood insulting people who are black and people who are Hispanic or people who are of different ethnicities. And we have a problem with how Hollywood views them, that they are not worthy of any original character. They are only worthy of sloppy seconds, that they have to be dehumanized and changed into another character because they're not worthy of their own skin color character or an original character who is of their same skin color. I mean, that's what we have a problem with. And it's not white heroism or white savior syndrome or anything like that. It's literally, we're actually trying to combat the racism that Disney is perpetuating. Disney is the ones at fault here, but they don't want to see that because, well, they think that we are the ones that are that are completely saying, you just don't like her because she's black. No, that's not what we're saying. We don't like what you guys, it's not that we don't like her or the fact that she's black. We don't like the fact that you are making her black for the sole reason that you think she can't make it as her own original character. And the fact that you think that people are so shallow that they can't identify with somebody simply because they are a different color. Congratulations, you attracted those shallow people to your movie and whatnot. But if you noticed your movie didn't perform that good, and if you noticed they were literally the lowest denominator in number, that's why your movie failed. You pandered to the wrong crowd. You pandered to the real racists. It is Disney who is the racist group here, folks. Not us, not me, not G-Fan, not anybody in my chat and whatnot. It is Disney. and their constant need of validation for saying, "Oh, we're diverse, we're inclusive." No, you're not. You're exclusive. You are sacrificing roles sit on the altar of skin color. And as I have said, and I will always stand by this, identity politics is like the slave trade from centuries ago, where you put a person up who looks different than you and you sell them to people, have people throw money at them to try to buy them for their entertainment or use. You are taking their identity and basically saying this person, or you can use this person however you want, but look different from you so they have lesser value. Instead, you are putting, that's what identity politics is. You're putting them up on a pedestal saying they can be strong, they can be this, they can be that, and throw your money at them because that's what you're getting. It doesn't, and if you think anything less, you're a racist. How else can a person look at it? And I have been heavily excoriated for my opinion there. However, it's not going to change. You are putting a person on a pedestal because of their identity, because of their skin color, their sexuality, their ethnicity, and you are saying throw money at them and pay for what they do to entertain you. How is that any different from what they did back in the slave trades? Putting a person up on a pedestal saying pay for them for your entertainment or whatever. It's the same brass tacks when you boil it all down. And I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of being treated differently because I have a lighter skin tone. I'm sick of being told I shouldn't be the one to comment on these things simply because I'm white and I don't know what it's like to be oppressed. Motherfucker, if you take all the, sorry for the French, but if you take all of those black stereotypes, single parent households, judged by the color of their skin, benefits or people put on benefits and all that other stuff. I lived all of those racial stereotypes. So you really have no argument. I judge people not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And unfortunately, when they say, well, we have feelings too, okay, you have feelings too. But when you talk the way you talk and you respond the way you respond, and you say things like, I should be paid millions for every hour that my stuff is streamed online, that's ego. That is so much ego and less or lacking so much humility that nobody likes that. And these classics, Little Mermaid, Snow White and them, have done more for women than these actresses nowadays ever will.
Yeah.
They think that not being saved by the prince is somehow such a great thing in a modern retelling of an ancient story that takes place in an ancient time. If you had women like that back then, if Rachel Zegler and Halle Bailey tried speaking that way back then, they would be burned to the stake for heresy. I'm not saying that's what they deserve to have happen to them. Do not mistake my words. I am simply saying that you care about telling a story that is great or that is a nice period piece. However, you don't understand the period. You want to say, oh, women are great, women are awesome, and women are so cool. They've always been that. They've been the proper balance for them or for men. And another good thing that I will say, strong female characters existed in the MCU before Captain Marvel. If it wasn't for a strong female character, Tony Stark would be dead in Iron Man 1. It wasn't Stark that killed Obadiah Stane. It was Pepper Potts. The Hulk didn't learn to control his rage all on his own. Betty helped him. Betty also was there and present in danger, yes, but she also kept the Hulk from killing the Abomination because that would have made him just as bad as the Abomination in the eyes of those who were watching. She essentially saved his soul. How is that any less of what a man can do?
Yeah.
I mean, you also had the Black Widow in Iron Man 2. If it wasn't for Black Widow, Rhodey would have possibly killed Tony because his suit was hacked. She managed to unhack it. I mean, every movie has a character who is female in the movies, whether they be a support character or a side character, that provides enough support for that main character to save the day. And yet everybody says, well, that's not really a good thing for women. They're relegated to the side. And yet they have the most important role as a side character. But then they're saying, or there was something that Kate Beckinsale said during the making of Underworld that I very much disagree with, because she was absolutely incorrect at the time, that there wasn't that really or a lot of roles for women or action roles for women. I'm sorry, Kate, but before you came along, there was Sarah Connor, there was Ripley, there was all the ladies of A League of Their Own, and many others as well. Gina Davis was such a great pioneer for woman badassery in the 90s and 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Along with Kiss Goodnight, Treasure, or what is that? Cutthroat Island.
Yes. Yeah.
To name a couple. The Fly.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody says that, oh, women weren't, or Jennifer Lawrence loved, or admittedly now, or she admits she misspoke now, but she's like, I was the first major action person or role. It's like, the fuck you were?
Yeah.
I mean, you have all these women back in time. And here's the thing. Snow White was the first. Snow White was the first animated woman who showed entertainment that women were powerful, that they could be feminine and still capture the hearts of many. And there's nothing wrong with that, folks. What are your thoughts?
So going on that, as a huge Godzilla fan, I've seen all the movies from the beginning to up to now. It's interesting how you say that, because it's actually very true. One of the things that was always interesting is Ishiro Honda, who directed the very first Godzilla movie. Mm-hmm. He actually was being groomed not to direct science fiction movies at all. He was actually being groomed when he was starting out as director to make documentaries and also dramas for women. So he had a very interesting way of directing, and he would also always get advice from his wife, Kimi Honda, who was also an actress. And what was always interesting is, if you watched a lot of the old Showa Godzilla movies with, especially with that Ishiro Honda did, he gave very, very vital roles to women. And you have to understand, at the time, there were no Ripleys yet. There were no Sarah Connors yet. Whoa. But it's the actions they did that propelled the story. For instance, Emiko Yamane, who was essentially in a love triangle. She was betrothed to Serizawa, but she loved Ogata in the original Godzilla movie. And Serizawa reveals the secret of the oxygen destroyer. And, after seeing the destruction of Tokyo, she has to reveal Serizawa's secret. And in doing so, what she has to do is her actions actually propel the story. It propels her sympathy, actually propels Serizawa to actually use the oxygen destroyer, even though he was all against it. And it's what kept Tokyo from being ravaged by Godzilla again. It's these major roles that these women play in these movies that you don't really think of, and then the more you think about it, it's like, wow, she really had she like even though she really had to make that decision, and it was a heartbreaking decision to make, and yet it propelled the story in such a way that we get the end result of the movie. Um, and I think that's one of those things where, just because a woman isn't, firing a bazooka or, has superpowers doesn't make them any less valuable in the overall story. You take the Mothra movies, with the twin fairies.
Yep.
It's one of those things where I think it it's what they're trying to do now is they're trying to force it into like all these action roles and stuff like that, but have no substance to the character. You have to have substance to the character to make them relatable and to make them you actually want to see them succeed. And that's what's lacking right now.
Yep. And Mothra, I mean, that you bring it up, is also another good, strong female character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially, or even in Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really feel it when she sacrifices herself for Godzilla.
Yeah.
And you are also like, hell yeah, when she busts through the clouds like a freaking meteor and strings up Ghidorah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just such powerful moments when she is in the scene. And
she's one of the few monsters within the Godzilla universe that's actually bested Godzilla.
Yep, she is. And she's also one that has also, I do believe, teamed up with Godzilla on occasion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, people don't realize Mothra is a form of purity in which all women are capable of. And yet, her character dies, yes, but if it wasn't for her sacrifice, Godzilla would have lost and the world would have been destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And because Godzilla was about to go off like an atom bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ghidorah wasn't destroyed from that, he would have just regenerated and slaughtered the world, and Godzilla wouldn't have been able to survive it. But it was because of her sacrifice that he was actually able to channel her power as well as release that energy inside of him to kill Ghidorah. Because when you see the pulse, it's her wings are inside that pulse.
Yeah, and her sound too.
Yep.
But it's like I said, it's just you can have really good writing for strong female characters. They've done it many, many, many times before. It's just that I feel that they're trying to do too much of a stereotypical action role or something like that, and it's not needed. It really isn't.
No. I mean, women can be badass. Women can be strong women, yes. But it doesn't require busting down and chopping down men in order to do that. And something that Riot Kitty said here, she relates mostly with Wolverine. Thing is, when Star Wars came out, and when I was old enough to really draw the sense of relation to characters and whatnot, I realized I identified and related to all of them in the Star Wars movies. I realized I related to Han Solo because he's brave, he's dashing, bit of an asshole. I mean, that's me to a T. But also I related to Luke, who has hope, who is an embodiment of hope. And I'm not saying that I'm an embodiment of hope, but he brings a hopefulness to whatever he does. I identified with the droids, C-3PO, because he has that intellect that can sometimes be very annoying to people around him. I could sometimes be very, very annoying to people around me. And yes, when it comes to my intellect with movies and stuff, that could sometimes be annoying to people around me. I identify with R2-D2 because he is able to come through in a clinch and help people and help his friends, and he cares deeply about his friends. So there's that. I identify with Lando Calrissian because he saw the bigger picture and wanted to protect all that he was responsible for. I see the bigger picture, and believe me, when it comes to all that I'm responsible for, I'll protect it. I relate to Princess Leia. She's a firebrand, and she's runs the mouth very well. So do I, and I can too. But she is also a person who knows, or who can also be very diplomatic, and that is also something that is important to relate to. And, well, I also relate to Chewbacca because I'm very tall, and I may be losing hair up here, but I'm also a cuddly person myself. I mean, there's nothing, and you want to know what none of us have in common? Well, except for, yes, there's skin color that we have in common, but it was their morals and stuff that I related to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Blade, he's dark, foreboding, and I'm not talking about dark as in skin color. I'm talking about dark as in broody. I'm talking about dark as in he sees the world for what it is. When he tells Karen in the first movie, you need to wake up. The world you live in is a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it, the real world. And if you want to survive, you need to learn to pull the trigger. He sees the ugliness in the world, but he also knows that there is good in it as well. I identify with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are so many different characters out there, Black, Hispanic, and otherwise, that I can identify with, and yet it has nothing to do with skin color, sexuality, race, or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with the morals. We lived in a moral-based society for quite a long time until people started saying that sex with kids is okay, sex with animals should be permitted, and all that other stuff. That is literally what's happening in Hollywood. They're trying to push that narrative. I mean, I don't want to see two kids having sex. That's disgusting. I want them to have their innocence and their purity until they're old enough to understand the responsibilities of what that stuff entails. Kids should not have to be exposed to that stuff. Men in dresses. Why is it that it is important to Disney to have men wear dresses to greet kids? So these kids can understand that, well, some people are mentally retarded? Because that is what you were showing them. Remember when Star Wars episode or The Rise of Palpatine came out in theaters?
Uh-huh.
I was there for the pre-opening day, and a kid or a mom brought her kids. And at the end celebrations, when they had that woman kissing another woman who was like 30 years older than her and whatnot, and it's like, I heard the kid like, "Ma, why is that woman kissing another woman?" That mom was stunned. She wasn't ready to teach her kids about that yet. Her kids were only like 4 and 5. They weren't understanding of it yet. And so, yeah, she was kind of upset when she left the theaters. She walked out quickly. Old creaky man voice. C3 or Right Kitty. Back in my day during sex education, we were taught abstinence until we were old enough to be mature about it. Well, that's exactly what sex education needs to be about. You need to understand the responsibilities, the consequences of fucking around. That's what we learned back in my day. In high school, when I was in 7th grade, we learned about condoms, screwing around without condoms. We saw what happened when a woman gives birth, the very ugliness of it, but also the joy of childbirth. But we also saw how a woman shits herself while she's giving birth sometimes. And that kind of scared some of the females in the class. It was the reality that freaking scares you. And it's like, holy crap, man.
Hey man, I'll say this. I'll have a little funny story here. Nothing beats what happened in my high school class. So we had to schedule the sex ed class, right? In high school. And, we all came to class and all that, and one girl's like, "Hey, do I already have a kid? Do I have to take this class?"
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're like, "Yeah, you still have to take the class."
Well, we also saw that stuff
that.
too in health class too, right? I mean, holy shit, did we ever? But also back in my day, it was or people did not want people smoking weed because they didn't find out about the health effects yet.
Yeah.
But moving on to or is there any final thoughts that you have on Halle Bailey and Rachel Zegler and how they went full ego on each other?
Not really. I mean, because like you were saying, if ever, many people, many of the Christians that we have and stuff like that, we always would like to actually sit down and talk with them, with any one of these. We would love to, and yes, we would make sure that the chats would be, very, very monitored and very, very, respectful in that sense. But we know it's never going to happen. That's the problem.
True. I mean, as I said, I would invite them on. I would be civil myself. Yes, I have been heavily criticizing them because of what I have seen them say themselves and what has been going on around them because their lives are so public. But if I was to sit down with them, I would be completely upfront with them. I would be but I would also be civil. And I would also tell my chat, I don't care if you've been in my chat for as long as my channel has been active. If you are uncivil with my guests, if you harass them in the chat, I will ban you from my channel. I don't care if you're my best friend or brother from another mother or my sister from another mister. I'll ban you from my channel if you disrespect my guests. Because I do believe in having a civil discourse. I do believe in having different opinions on my channel. And if they can sway me and get me to change my mind, well, that would be something. But I would I'd love to talk with them. Love to have a conversation with them. I believe in having a conversation with somebody who disagrees fundamentally with me. I believe in that discourse because it's better than a hive mind. So getting on to our last topic for the night, Godzilla -1 is breaking records, and apparently its budget was not 15 million, but actually lower than that. So not even 15 million. And you have a Godzilla that literally looks like it is on the screen that there is an actual beast walking, crushing, destroying shit on camera. And this thing cost less than $15 million to make. Now, there is a reason why, folks. They're paid less than livable wage for those movies.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
That is one of the unfortunate truths. But it also speaks to how a Marvel movie can have and shows can have some of the worst special effects ever. She-Hulk, $250 million budget. And it had the worst CGI I have ever seen. Yet, a movie that is less than $15 million budget-wise, albeit sacrifice of the people's payment, they can have special effects that look real. I have often said that if video games could ever, or the only time I will ever play a sports video game nowadays, is if they can create a video game that actually looks like I'm watching a football game, where it looks like a real person is on that field and the field looks real and all of that stuff. I've yet to ever see that. I don't think I ever will, because I know it's an impossible task for American studios to do this. But Japan has or their director basically said, I wish it was that high.
Mm-hmm.
Or I wish it was that much. And it's like, wait, he said, I wish it was that much. Now, it could be higher, but it's thought to be lesser. If it is indeed less than 15 million, that movie has already made bank.
Also,
because it made 23 million in the box office in Japan, and it's already made 15 million here. Strong characters. Let me scroll up for a second, right?
Yeah, she was saying something. Oh, yeah, scroll up.
Curiosity, like the two characters I related to most as a kid, but didn't look like me at all. I wasn't bothered by that.
Down a bit.
Looks better now. All right. Yeah, I never thought about people looking like me to relate. I found a curious study once. Geez, some people are crazy. Donald Driver. I guess I should say the superhero I relate to is Wolverine. Cover
one under that. Yeah.
There's a thing to be said about strong characters. Yeah. There's a thing to be said about strong characters. There's more than one way to be strong. I believe modern Hollywood writers have neglected that. I consider Snow White and Cinderella to be strong. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are indeed. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, Cinderella was abused by, everyone around her, and she still maintained her
independence.
Independence, exactly. Yeah.
Will.
Yeah.
I mean, she maintained her sanity. Mm-hmm. And she found a goddamn way to get to that ball. And it all turned out for the best. I mean, I saw a German version of Cinderella recently, which was pretty kind of funny, but it was also ridiculous. The wicked stepmother actually tried to kill the prince. So what the fuck?
Yeah, some of them get really out there, like especially when you look at the older stories, like especially from like Germany and that sort of thing.
Oh no, this one 2010s, I believe, or possibly 2020s. But also, there's that show Dark. Before we get, or small segue, folks. But have you ever seen that show Dark on Netflix? It's from Germany, but they have different dubs for it.
No, I haven't.
You want to wrap your head around time travel? Wrap your head around this. A woman from the future gives birth to her mother, who then in turn gives birth to her. Wrap your head around that paradox.
Yeah. So she's her own mother, right?
She is her own mother's mother. And she's her daughter's, or her daughter is, or she is the daughter of her own daughter. So yeah, wrap your head around that, folks. And when I saw that, and it's like, the fuck is going on here? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've had enough of this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I just couldn't freaking. It's like, I'm not the same one. Or then he loses his girlfriend, and it's like, I'm from a different world, not a different time. And it's like, okay, I'm out. I couldn't watch any more of it. Snow White's only family wanted her dead for being prettier than her, and she got lost in the woods. people could say they wouldn't go insane in that situation. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Boy and the Heron is at number 1. Yeah, I heard that's that Studio Ghibli thing that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Studio Ghibli. They're probably one of the pristine anime companies out there. And yeah, fun fact, that actually was released in Japan back in July. And it's just now coming overseas. And so, like, yeah, that's at number 1. So, like I said, it's kind of interesting how you have 2 Japanese language movies at the top 3 of the box office over the weekend. So, somebody's got to, like, smack Hollywood upside the head here, because other studios from around the world seem to know how to actually write stories.
Nice. Sounds like the Ruby joke of 2 main characters continuing the timeline because they look like the character's parents. I vaguely remember that scene, and I was out after that too. Well, that they look like the girl's parents. In the thing that I did, or in that movie or show Dark, that's literally a paradox.
Yeah.
It's like you are your mother's mother, and yet you are your daughter's daughter. I mean, if my head wasn't as twisted as it already is, because I've seen some twisted shit in life, my head would have exploded.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Anyway, but yeah, Godzilla -1 is like breaking records all over the box office right now. Hero is, or Jet Li's Hero still maintains one of the records, but this movie also has a record that was like 19 years run, or beat a 19-year running record in the box office. It actually took number 1 in the box office post Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And other stuff. It's like, holy crap, man. Yeah, you watched Dark, got super weird with all the paradox stuff. Little kid becomes main character's dad in the past. Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never saw that, but I think my brain was hurt after a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, the Germans, they can come up with some really twisted shit. And I was born in Germany, folks. So I'm not saying all Germans are fucking nuts, but who does come up with that?
Somebody with a better talent than I do.
I wouldn't say better. I would definitely say different.
Different.
Because holy shit.
Yeah. The whole time paradox thing, I can't wrap my brain around a lot of times, but yet, like, you see stories do it all the time, and it's like, huh?
Yeah, and then they went to multiple universes, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Now I feel like my brain will explode after that. Yeah, right, Ryan? I mean, it's like mother's mother, daughter kind of weird thing, and then you got fucking multiple universes. It's like, fuck off. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Back to the Future, Mario's became his own dad.
Almost, yeah. Thank God. But he also realized he had to change it because he was disappearing.
Yeah, he was disappearing, yeah.
I also love what he said to his baby, or to his uncle back in the 50s. Better get used to these bars, kid.
Yeah.
But getting back to Godzilla, I mean, shit, yeah, we go a lot on segues, folks. But Godzilla -1, the only thing that I disapprove of, I haven't seen the movie. I disapprove of the limited release, but now it's getting a wider release. And he said, as long as it's being received well, it will stay out there. Bravo on you. It was just sheer bad luck that my method of travel was damaged to the point where I couldn't go there. And it also sucks that the closest place showing it is literally 150 miles away from me. So it's like 3 hours to get down, 3 hours or 2 hours to watch the movie, 3 hours to get back. Then do a review, which is only going to get like 30 views or more or less. And then it's like the costs outweigh the benefit. I mean, as much as I want to see the movie, as much as I wish I can see that movie, folks, I can't. I can't get to a theater to see it, unfortunately.
And I wouldn't me for that one. No, that's a lot of traveling.
My daughter is my mother sounds like smut anime, right? I mean, that's another. I mean, as much as I love Japan for Godzilla -1, their freakier side is very much disturbing.
Oh yeah, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole of dark side of Japan.
I was younger, or when I was younger, I already went down it.
Oh yeah, it's.
I mean, I was a teenager at one point.
Yeah,
they were very heavy in the mind breaking porn and whatnot. I mean, they still are, from what I hear.
Yeah, it gets it gets something else, and
then again, also American smut people are doing some twisted shit too.
Oh yeah. I mean, what comes out of some people's minds is
all the lolly shit.
Absolutely insane. But that being said, it's like
negative lolly shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because there's those lollies that are out there that are just, they have a sexual preference for petite women.
Mm-hmm.
Keyword women, as in of age. Where you have those sick lollies that prefer petite, but also they don't care about the age.
Yeah.
That sort of shit needs, it's like, folks, I remember a time living in a time when that sort of shit gave you multiple life sentences. And you were locked up for hundreds of years that you would never live to see. And then you were buried underneath the prison. Yeah. Nowadays, it's like, you need to accept us. Well, the way I accept you is with lead. Yeah. Or a lethal injection. But Godzilla, that's something that Japan did right.
Oh, yeah.
And it all started with Gojira from 1954.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say November something. I can't remember which one is Godzilla's birthday. But it's actually October 27th is Godzilla's real birthday, because that was when it was released in Japan. Yeah, I know this because one of my family members shares a birthday with Godzilla's actual birthday.
Yeah.
So, Godzilla -1, I recommend that people see it, and I haven't even seen it, but I do recommend that people see it simply by watching the trailers.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this thing like, that's a good practical effect. Dude, that's all digital. The fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I interestingly enough, and the reviewer actually said this, and it's actually true about this movie, and not to give anything away. And it's very ironic too. This movie also has, for as much as it talks about the human story, and as much as people have been raving about that, it actually has a very, very good, very much based in Christian ideology, method of the morals of the movie. And it's actually very interesting because it's coming from Japan, where most are non-Christian. So it's kind of very, very interesting, movie. And a lot of people, I've been wanting to try to get with a couple people who have seen it and talk about the actual historical background of the time period they're talking about, because everyone seems to talk about World War II, but nobody ever seems to talk about the rebuilding period after World War II, and that's what this movie truly is about. And it's a very interesting time. Imagine something like this. Imagine trying to make a democratic republic out of a country that has known nothing but a pretty much an empire for the last couple thousand years. Yeah. So imagine trying to do that. It's a very interesting time in history, and it's like one of those things that everyone seems to skip over. Yeah. But like this movie actually has more historical accuracies than Napoleon did.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a Godzilla film.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. It's a science fiction movie. I mean, it's so good. It's very good.
And Godzilla, the original one, was actually meant to. It was an agenda movie, believe it or not, but it was still, or the entertainment factor was also, or was not overshadowed by the agenda. The agenda was to call out the evil of nuclear warhead or of nuclear power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, that's what the elderly man says at the end. It's like, we need to be more aware of what nuclear power can do. And we need to make sure that it never gets any worse. Yeah. Unfortunately, it has, but it also has created good things as well. Nuclear power is
exactly
as irradiation or as poisonous as it is escaping to people. Nuclear power is also extremely clean.
Yeah, clean energy, no dirty factories, no stuff like that. And you're right about like with the original intent. Everyone always asks why Godzilla movies keep getting made. Well, Ishiro Honda actually said way back when, saying as long as nuclear weapons were a factor, there will always be a Godzilla movie.
Yep. And when I saw a clip from Godzilla. I mean, Godzilla has been out for a couple weeks now, folks. Mm-hmm. I saw a clip. Somebody did the full edit of the atomic breath scene, where when he finally lets loose, and it hits, when it hits, it then blows up like an atomic blast. And I'm like,
yes,
that's interesting, because we've always ever had Godzilla's atomic blast as just something that is just a beam of energy that is not explosive, but it's destructive, yes, but not explosive. Where when he lets loose, that when it finally hits something, it blows up like a freaking nuclear bomb. And I'm thinking to myself, huh. And I also like how they did the back spines, how they raised and then dropped or like hammered down into him to get him to release.
Yeah, kind of like the cocking of a gun.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're pulling the hammer back with the spines going up, and then you're pulling the trigger and the spines go down, and boom, he unleashes.
Yeah, and
but that's all I've seen. I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, and the reason why is the director even said he wanted it to literally be like Godzilla is literally a living nuclear weapon.
Yeah,
in literal terms.
And there's that scene where he's chasing and he has the mine in his mouth. And I also saw a scene where he had part of his face right here, I guess, like blown off a little bit, where he's like standing looking down, kind of like a smile on his face, like, what else do you got? You son of a bitch, I'm about to kill you. And I'm thinking to myself, that's probably what happened when they shot the bomb in his mouth. And he's like just standing up there like, well, that didn't taste good, but I'm about to kill you nonetheless.
Right. Right. And that was inspired by Jaws. That was one of the director's favorite movies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, this is a Jaws scene right here, man. Except that they're actually moving and this sucker's chasing. But that's the scene that looks so freaking real. That's the scene that looks like, because when you see the mine, going back and forth in his mouth, you'd think that the Godzilla is a practical effect.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
actually digital.
Yep. I mean, they worked very hard on this movie. You can tell.
Yeah.
Another real thing, real quick. Another real thing I wanted to say too. This is a bit different than in America, but over in Japan, Toho actually owns their own movie theaters. So any profit in Japan is literally all profit.
Yeah.
For them.
Goes straight to them.
Yep. So quite literally, they already made their money back, and even more now. So
because what people don't know here is that when it comes to movie theaters, when say you have a $10 movie ticket, and the movie is this is their release day, $9 of your $10 goes to the studio, not the theater.
Yep.
The theater gets $1 for every $10 made.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what Disney does. It's like, but they also say you got to show 3D, you got to do this, you got to do that for a certain amount of time. Otherwise, we won't allow you to show. It's like, I hate dictatorial shit like that, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
just let us show your movie. People hate the 3D.
And that's the thing. They will make good on that promise to pull that movie from your screen. And the reason why I know this, do you guys remember what happened with Kick-Ass at Carmack Cinemas?
That I don't know.
Okay, so
never got into the Kick-Ass movies. Okay,
so Kick-Ass was going to be released wide. Well, what happened was, no joke, I worked at Carmack Cinemas because this is how I know this. One of the theaters during the midnight premiere showed the movie like 6 minutes before midnight by accident.
Oops.
Well, there was one of those hidden spotters there.
Yep.
They literally went to Carmack as a whole. Carmack was a national theater chain. Carmack as a whole, and they said, "We are pulling all of your films. You are not showing this movie." And they went and did it. They actually had people set up at different places, even in the most remote like movie theaters, to go and pick up those films from the movie theater. And they did not joke about that. So ever since then, when it comes to like all these contractual deals, they know that they'll make good on those promises. That's why they have to do it.
Yep. And not only that, folks, nowadays when movies are sent to theaters, they're sent in thumb drives. And the thumb drive has not malware, but software on it that lets them know how many times it's shown and how many times or it's played. So also it gives them, I do believe, remote access to shut it down.
Yes.
If they're abusing it. So,
or at the very least, it will actually flag it to the corporation.
Yeah, they'll be like this group is abusing the thing to it, and then they dead the key, they dead the key when it's no longer needed. So you can't play it. I mean, it just goes to show just how well these people can truly rule over you with their terms.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, OMB Reviews, Odin, great guy, does great with the box office stuff. And he also used to work at a theater, too. So he knows his stuff, too. That's where I get most of my information is from him. And also from my friend who also works at the theater, too, as well as G-Fan here, who also used to work in the theater.
Yeah.
So anyway, folks, Godzilla -1, I would look, or I wonder if they've amended the budget online. Let me look it up. Godzilla -1 real budget. Production is widely reported to have had a budget of $15 million, roughly 2.2 billion yen. Holy shit. Under 10% of the franchise's previous installment, Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. Produced, except that it's not 15 million from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I don't think they released the official.
Yeah,
budget.
so we won't know. But also, speaking of Godzilla news, we'll talk about it as well. Have you seen the trailer to Godzilla Kong?
Yes, very much.
With the pink Godzilla, and I'm thinking to myself,
Barbie Godzilla.
I mean, huh?
Barbie
Barbiezilla. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, why is he pink? I just wasn't getting it. It's like, I don't think it's anything to do with wokeness. I don't think it's anything to do with that.
No.
Why is he pink? I don't understand. Is this a new Godzilla?
Well, I heard they're doing one of those in between comics that's supposed to.
Yeah, apparently they're supposed to, because Godzilla has evolved through the movies, folks. There was the in between with between 14 and 19 with Muto Prime, who destroyed Godzilla's back spines, and that's why he has the more traditional ones in King of the Monsters. And then there was the in between where he fought against other ones before he fought against Kong.
Right.
And he actually went after Scylla. He went after, or another one went after him after he got out of Hollow Earth. But once he realized Kong was off or was out of his normal area, it's like, no, you are far out of your area. You need to get your ass back there or you're going to die. In fact, I'll drag your ass to the Hollow Earth myself. Yeah,
because in that comic, it even gives Godzilla's perspective in the writing, and the argument was too many were released at the same time, so now he's got to go around to make sure everyone's behaving, essentially.
Yep. And some of them are he helps out he helps out Behemoth from South America. He stops Scylla from grabbing a nuke in the waters near South Carolina. And then Scylla goes swimming off like, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones too. But I really do like how they I wish they had done more to go through his perspective in the books, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Kong, they are in King of Monsters, the novel. Kong actually responds to Ghidorah's call like, fuck off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, you're pissed. And he's like, no, I don't care about that. But he also notices that the skull crawlers underneath are getting riled up, and he's like, oh, you son of a bitch. This is your fault, whoever you are. You freaking are riling them all up. So now I got to hunt. So I am going to hunt, but not the way you want me to hunt.
Yeah, exactly. I think it looks like Kitty's going to bed. Hey, good night, Kitty. Riot Kitty.
Yeah. Have a good night, Riot Kitty. Thank you for stopping in. And we're getting ready to end this anyway because it's almost 2.5 hours. But yes, this is the weekly report, folks. And for now on, because having it do multiple screens, like sharing a screen, I'm actually going to pull up the articles on my phone instead. Oh, okay. That way I can just read them from the phone or talk about the talking points on the phone. That way I won't become as choppy as I did during the stream. But I also
think it's from all the ads on the website.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I had an ad blocker, but now YouTube, if you have any ad blocker, even if it's turned off, they will threaten to pull your freaking ability to watch videos.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, fuck you, YouTube. I mean, I turned them all off on your site. So it's like, fuck you to the moon, man.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I had to get rid of all of them, and now I can't, or I'm completely bombarded by them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get YouTube Premium because it's like I don't have $14 to shell out right now.
Right. Exactly.
But anyway, folks, thank you to Riot Kitty. Who else? Vanya, Darzathra,
Mm-hmm.
and Christian Freights for being in the chat. You guys are freaking awesome. Stay tuned for Tuesday afternoons. Christmas is Lethal Weapon a Christmas movie? I will be discussing the full merits of that on my channel on Tuesday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And the following week, or not this week, but next week, or it's me and Mara back with the 1s and 2s on her channel with Gremlins 1 and 2, and singles with Krampus and Violent Night. So y'all have or get ready for those. Those are going to be fun to talk about. And G-Fan, is there anything you want to do plug-wise, shameless plug, stuff like that?
Don't really have a plug for myself or anything, but I'm always going to support your channel, man. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah, give a shout out to you. And just I hope you're able to see Godzilla -1 at some point here.
I'm hoping so too, man. But right now it's looking, or the only time I'll be able to see it is when they release it on Vudu. So,
Okay.
but I'm hoping I can eventually see it. But I don't see it happening in theaters, unfortunately. But I'm also not going to sail the 7 seas because I do want a more theatrical viewing of it.
Right.
So I'm not going to pirate that thing because Toho, well, not only are they super strict on their shit, but I do believe that Toho deserves the support. So when the movie does come out, chances are I'll pay full price to buy it.
Right. Oh, I'm getting a physical copy when it comes out. So
Same here. I mean, I'll grab a physical as well as a digital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know digital media is not the best. I mean, it depends on whether or not they decide to get rid of their system or not, and then you lose all the movies that you had access to. But I mean, Sony recently did that. But physical media, I also have. So I mean, I have a box of over like 500 DVDs and Blu-rays upstairs.
Yeah.
So I suggest both digital and physical. That way you have access on the go as well as at home.
Yep, exactly.
But anyway, we are going to be stopping it here. Thank you to everybody in the chat for stopping in. Y'all have a good night. This has been Orange Chat and G-Fan. Y'all or everybody have a good night, and always remember to stay humble.
Yep. Goodbye.